Hey everyone, Guy78 here. This episode of How to Do More Damage, we're going to be covering weird Amara jank and shenanigans. First up, we have Indiscriminate. Indiscriminate is really weird. So first off, the base damage of the new bullet that bounces around is based on the damage dealt to the enemy initially. So that means it's a double dip. And then you just factor in the damage penalty accordingly. But the damage source of Indiscriminate is passive skill, which means it gets 5.5 times mayhem scaling and on grenade throw. It does not get skill damage boosts, and it shouldn't proc expedite. But then it gets weirder. The Indiscriminate projectile, if it's off a splash gun, the projectile is still splash, but it always has 0 radius, so it'll double dip the splash. And another thing is that Jacob's ricochets are independent, so you can get the Jacob's ricochet and the Indiscriminate, and I think those two can also then bounce around again with the other. But there's more. There's still more jank. If you remember Chain Reaction from Borderlands 2, the Maya skill, when you shoot some enemies with like certain guns, they were able to just duplicate the projectiles and split again and just get bullets flying everywhere. This kind of happens in a similar way. So there's some weapons with split effects that kind of just go crazy and explode. But what happens is the main projectile on impact can spawn its child projectiles, but at the same time then spawn the Indiscriminate projectile with the damage source. This Indiscriminate projectile hits something else and then spawns its own child projectiles, but these do not inherit the damage source. They don't get the mayhem scaling, and they will not proc Indiscriminate again. Still though, you're getting a lot of things flying all over the place. Some funny guns that I like to use with this are the Complex Root, the Major Kong, which I'll show later, the Globetrotter, and the Recursion, which I'll show later too, and the Convergence. The reason why I'm showing it later is because another thing I have to bring up. The last thing I wanted to mention with this Indiscriminate shenanigery is Infusion. And my info on how this works exactly is fuzzy, but that doesn't matter too much. But Infusion does work like generating a new projectile, kinda. I know I said that for bonus elements, but this one is more like shooting an extra bullet. It doubles the amount of body and mind procs a Face Puncher gets, and like you saw me mention a lot, Infusion has shenanigans with Indiscriminate. The way it works like generating a new projectile does actually let it proc Indiscriminate separately, so you can get 2 Indiscriminate procs off one gun. Better yet, if a splash gun was being used and the infusion portion of a splash gun procs Indiscriminate, that Indiscriminate will be splash. It won't be a double dip on the splash because the initial hit is more like a bonus element, but then it will now receive splash boosts. And furthermore, some weapons like the Storm and Firestorm, the way they're coded to be kind of like the same gun, they can turn into each other depending on your attuned element. So if you're attuned to Shock and use a Firestorm, guess what? You have like a Walmart version of the Storm. This game is weird. The following clip, I'm using a Shock Major Kong. And you're going to notice that even though the launcher is Shock, I'm getting a ton of corrosive rockets flying all over the place, because the infusion portion is proccing Indiscriminate. And even then, we're getting way more rockets than we should be getting, because when I shoot the enemy, we spawn the mini rockets, and Indiscriminate procs, it just gets rockets flying everywhere, and you're going to see it just sort of nukes the whole map just by directly hitting one enemy. In this clip, I sort of more so show off everything about how to do damage. Got the red explosions, tied to bind, everything going. But with the recursion, you can kind of see there's a lot of things flying everywhere. And I do switch the gun to shock to try and really show the fusion portion proccing and screwing it, but can't really see anything just because how polluted this game is. But it kind of just slows down after that, so I'm just going to end the clip here, and hopefully you get the point. One extra piece of jank. For some reason, God knows why, ice spiker artifacts, like the spikes that they shoot out, count as Amara skill damage. They can proc Laid Bare and other things, like her augments, from damaging an enemy. Expedite is not unique to that, because that's just any skill damage, but ice spikers are Amara's skill damage, so they activate Remnant and benefit from skill damage increases. And funny, I guess, I've seen these things like do a lot of damage, proc Remnant, and then it one-shots Joey. And also, something I didn't mention in the non-gun video, the first one, is that ice spikers and other slam artifacts are just really powerful as a whole. Slams are very underrated. Go try a slam build using spark plugs, ice spikers, and I forgot the name of the other one. But the next tidbit is the Kensei class mod, and as of making this right now, the loot lemon page for the Kensei is a little bit wrong, but I do have some updated info from our GOAT, Stone Swan. So at base, it's a 10% bonus element that applies to only bullets, so that's your Hunter, Seeker, and all your guns, pretty much. And it scales with melee damage boosts, which includes Mayhem scale. So a Mayhem 10, that makes it, at base, 160% bonus elements. And then it gets your further melee damage boosts. And the Kensei is technically not melee damage, but it acts a lot like it. I'm not sure what it is. So it actually gets damage boost from frozen enemies when you melee them. It can proc Ebb and Flow and Combo Breaker, and also the Shooting Star Shield, like the meteors that spawns when you melee an enemy. But it doesn't proc any melee artifacts. That much is correct on the Lululemon page.